following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Monday, November 4th, 2024, Season 20, Episode number 61. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and we are presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at lg.com/OLED Evo. Today it is our job to talk about the Cowboys' loss yesterday. They lose on the road to the Atlanta Falcons 27-21. And there are a lot of different little things I think we can take from this game. But let's start first with the big picture, and we're going to go around the table as we usually do, and just give everybody an idea of what you think the story is of this game. Nick, let's start with you.
Adding injury to insult, like flip the saying, I guess, with Dak getting hurt and CD getting hurt. I mean, it's kind of a snowball of injuries at the moment. We'll know more today for the extent of Dak's hamstring injury and CD's AC joint injury in his shoulder. But definitely two things to keep an eye on. But as far as the game goes specifically, the offense just couldn't build any rhythm. And we've seen it multiple times this season, and especially coming out in the second half, defense allowing points and then offense not scoring points. And then when you try to throw a fake punt in there that had 0% chance of working,
we'll get to that.
Yeah, that's probably what ends up happening as the end result. But for me, it was a lack of offensive rhythm. It was never present during the game. They had the one touchdown drive with Dak, and it looked like it was sustaining a drive at that point. But you can't have one drive all day.
Teams have figured out you can't block a twist front, and that's going to be even a team that doesn't get any pressure. Their go-to in this game was to move the front and see if you're good enough to handle it. I need to see about with Mike Solari in this group. Are they, it seems like to me they try and man a lot of these twists. And so what happens is guys get too caught up and then the twisters come around. And that's really what the Falcons were able to do in this football game to create pressure. The margin of error is very, very small for this football team. It walks the tightrope on offense, defense, special teams. And I mentioned special teams because you get a really good block, from a kid up off the practice squad with Butler on a punt return, and you get Turpin to the wall and around the corner, and he goes out of bounds. That's your margin of error. It's very, very small for this football team, and they almost have to play perfect in order to have things successful for them. And that's really, really unfortunate because you watch games every week where there are teams that get away with certain things and they're able to make it work. And this is a very talented team, but the margin of error for them is so small, it's hard for them to win games that way.
Yeah, very frustrating because we're sitting here beginning of November. We have a whole half of the season left, and it's hard to imagine, even see any kind of light at the end of the tunnel and see, even if there was to happen, a trade was to happen before the deadline, which is tomorrow, do you really feel like one person or even two can even fix this team? And that's the problem right there. It's very difficult to move along and find any kind of hope. Now you have Dak Prescott injured. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. We were all asking, when is he going to run? When is he going to run? He then runs and creates positive plays for the offense, but then gets injured. He did mention he didn't feel it while he was running. He doesn't know if it happened when he fell down and when the tackle came or what happened there and maybe got pulled. But you got to imagine that it most likely came from that because he hasn't been running.
It's hard to tell because the run that he had, the long run, looked fine.
Yeah.
He had 2 5-yard runs. The first one looked fine. The second one, you really couldn't tell on tape if there was any discomfort or him grabbing. He got up off the ground a little bit slower than he normally would. But I was trying to kind of pinpoint when that was, and then he had the throw where he was trying to follow through, and it just was an awkward-looking stance and awkward-looking delivery. But I had a hard time finding when he was running if in fact when that happened.
Yeah, and he even said in the post-game press conference, he's like, I'm not even really sure when exactly it happened. He knew he felt it after that 2nd down and 20 throw to Jalen Brooks on the sideline, though.
You know what it looked like to me, and I'm just from what we were watching, when he got sacked for, basically it was a 0-yard gain, and they called it was obviously a sack. When he got up from that, he kind of was favoring a little bit. To me, it looked like, because I told Nick, I said, you see, Dak looks like he's kind of favoring his leg. And I didn't think anything of it because he stayed in the game, kept playing, and then it came up. So it made me think that was the play that
maybe you need to
happened.
Look at that play. Yeah,
but I'm not sure about that.
He was talking about the running play, so that's the ones I focused on. But if you need to go back and look at the sack, the couple of the sacks, the back-to-back sacks, that's maybe something you could look at and see if you can find anything from that.
Let's talk about the offense. Let's go into a little bit of detail on Dak. Dak was 18 of 24, 75% completion rate, 133 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, a 101.6 rating. You look at his numbers, and it doesn't seem like there was a lot of production, but it seemed like he was very efficient, probably even more efficient than it looked if you were just watching the game. You know how it feels like sometimes you look at the numbers. I was actually shocked when the game was over and I saw these numbers with such a high completion percentage, such a high quarterback rating. I didn't think, as you said, Nick, I didn't think the offense really had any rhythm, and maybe that was the difference. But how would you assess Dak's play yesterday overall?
Yeah, it was fine up until the 3rd quarter, and I think this is a quarter that has just been biting this team in the butt all season. It kind of was a problem last year. They were bottom 3rd in the league in 3rd quarter points a season ago and 3rd quarter point differential, but it's kind of been amplified this season. He had 101 yards at the break, 32 in that 3rd quarter, and then obviously a couple of punts and a fake punt. And when that happens, and you pair that with Atlanta coming out with a touchdown drive, and then to open up the 4th quarter, another touchdown drive, you can't sustain offensive success with that. But talking about Dak specifically, I really liked his ability to scramble and use his legs, like we talked about. I think I asked him about that specifically in the post-game press conference, and he said there was a little bit of intention in that. 3 carries for 30 yards, including the 22-yard scramble, which is the only 20-plus yard run of the entire season for your Dallas Cowboys. But other than that, I think whenever you look at the receiving game, you had a reliable CD at times. You had a reliable Jake Ferguson, which was really nice to see. I thought he had probably his best game all season. But when you only have those 2 guys, it's really tough to be able to sustain an offense.
Kind of felt like the ball wasn't going down the air at all. You know, I mean, even with Cooper Rush, it's felt like that the ball was at least going down the field a little bit more. With some of the throws, I was surprised with the amount of off coverage. These guys play a ton of zone. We talked about that. They really didn't take advantage of Alford, the nickel. He gave up, I think there were 9 targets, 6 receptions for like 31 yards. It just didn't seem to me that everything was not behind the sticks. Everything was in front of the sticks, and it was all about run. And it really wasn't until Cooper Rush came in the game, and I don't think it's all prevent defense or anything like that, because that's just the way the Falcons play. But there just seemed that the ball was going down the field. There were more opportunities. Even the ball that Lamb dropped, beautiful throw from Cooper Rush. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, maybe with the shoulder situation, but man, it was right where it needed to be. Mm-hmm. But the ball, 4th down, there were throws down the field, and I didn't see Dak have any type of willingness to do that. You mentioned one of the sacks, Derek. He missed Tolbert up the sidelines. He had Dowdle in the flat. There's 2 options. He took neither of them, and Guyton couldn't keep his guy blocked long enough, and then it's a sack. Ball's got to go down the field. Ball's got to go. You can't sit there and think that you got time to come back. Even though Cousins, the touchdown that he had that went where he just sat and looked at the whole field, and McLeod ran all the way across to Wilson. You have time to do that. You don't have time with this offensive line to sit there and look at every single read. You've got to determine, okay, what's my best option here? Get it out there and see what happens to you on the play. You can't hold the football. 2 options, you took neither, and the team suffered a sack.
Yep.
It's been such a tough season. And Dak in this game, yes, he had some positive plays, but at the same time, there are so many of them, and you mentioned those 2 specific ones where he just didn't see guys open. some of the decisions that he has made are decisions that he shouldn't be making at this point of his career, that you expect such a veteran to be more aware of what's happening on the field. Now, obviously, the offensive line is not giving any kind of help. I mean, they made a non-existent pass rush be existent and made them look good. When we talked about this matchup being a positive matchup, and even Dak mentioned it, and Mike McCarthy kind of said, like, this was a good matchup for them where they could create some positive plays, and it wasn't that way. You cannot convert on third downs to save your life. Even the fourth down attempts,
downs were
you
losing,
couldn't do absolutely anything. And some of the other players, I don't think it's all on Dak. Even Jake Ferguson, the way he's moving around, I don't know if it's hurt or if he's dealing with something, but his movement on the field, it doesn't seem like the usual self, like the Jake Ferguson we saw last year or his first year. So it's just something's happening there as well, where you can't even trust your tight end in that sense. And then
you feel
the
like
receivers,
even yesterday with him?
There were moments like he had some catches there, but moments where he's just not being athletic enough.
He had the most yards after catch. You know, I mean, the first play of the game. First play of the game, and then there were a couple other runs. Yeah, he got put in some bad situations, though, with him trying to break free. Balls were on the ground, or he's having to go up one-hand catch and stuff like that. So really a little bit of both of him and Dak with that situation.
But his athleticism, I think it has declined from what I've seen in this season overall. He's kind of declined. But then again, you can't single one person out because it's been such a collective decline from the offense overall. So it's really hard to pinpoint exactly where the problem truly stems from.
Well, it's like I said, to me, sometimes you get really good play calls. And then sometimes you get, like, I was really indifferent on the 4th and 1 jet sweep. I mean, I got to give Atlanta credit.
Yeah,
Ellis made a good play. Now, the problem with that,
had a hell of a game.
Now, if Ellis doesn't make that play, well, Bates is standing right there. And to your point, Ferguson's struggling with Bates. You know, he's struggling to block Bates. And then by the motion they're playing man, Alford now is uncovered. He's coming with, or he's got man-to-man coverage with CD. He's running with CD. So now you've got guys in that area. If Ellis doesn't make the play, Bates is likely to make it. Alford's going to be right there. I was indifferent. I just, like, get the damn first down. You know, just get the first down. Don't, you know, to me, I mentioned your margin of error is so small. You can't afford. You almost have to be sound in the way that you just run the ball, get the first down, and then move on. They came back to the play a little bit later on, and it worked for them. Great. That's why I'm a little bit indifferent. But to me, I'm like, get the first down, keep the drive going, and if you want to go back or come back to plays like that, feel free to do so. But you got to give Atlanta credit. Ellis made a great play, but they had two other guys there that probably would have made the play too. It would have been stopped it for a 4th down.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff, like you say, the screen plays, there were a couple of screen passes they threw were perfectly called for the right situation. You know, and they get, you know, the one time Dak kind of very casually, instead of maybe throwing the ball over the top of Matthew Judon, kind of just throws a little sidearm. Mm-hmm. And Judon just knocks it down. And you're like, it was almost like Dak was just too casual, just, you know, get back, sell it, get him to go up. Or if he goes up, then you could throw the little sidearm. If he stays down on the ground, go over the top. But those are good calls, but they're not rewarded. He's not rewarded. Now I'm yelling at Mike McCarthy for being doing a terrible job calling plays. But when he calls a good play and then I watch it, I'm like, well, that's on his players right there. That's a great play call, poorly executed. They struggle. And you mentioned it with any type of rhythm. Everything is, you know, the easy button thing. They never get to hit the easy button. Everything is hard.
Everything has been hard.
Everything is so hard for this team in all areas of their game.
Well, I think at the end of the day, I think it's just so apparent to me at this point that most of these things we're talking about stem from the offensive line. Their inability to be able to get like that play before the 4th and 1 when they do the jet sweep. They do that because on 3rd and 1 they try to just run the ball. They can't move anybody. They get no gain. And I think it's the fact that at some point you got to do something different. You can't just keep literally running into a brick wall because your offensive line really isn't getting any push. And so it leaves you in a situation where you got to do all these exotic things to try to convert a 3rd and short or a 4th and short. And that's what gets you into trouble. Like those are not plays that you should necessarily have to run on those kinds of situations. You should be able to line up and say, we're going to power through and we're going to get a yard. But they can't do it.
Yeah, there's not confidence. This is not telling anybody news here, but there is not confidence in what the running game is. And something that Rico Dowdle had said in the locker room yesterday, talking about that 3rd and 1 where they were lined up in shotgun and they handed off to Rico. He didn't get anything, and it led to that 4th and 1 jet sweep to CD. He said that they saw things in film during the week that allowed them to see some success running the ball out of shotgun. Well, it's like, okay, yes, I understand that, but you're 3rd and 1. Go under center.
Right.
You go under center because you trust the personnel that you
Yeah.
have. You trust the interior offensive line that you have, and you go get 1 yard. I never understand running the ball 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 out of shotgun.
Out of shotgun.
I'll never
No,
understand.
I don't get
I'm
it
totally
either.
with you on
Yeah.
that. I get into discussion. Someone's like, "Well, that's part of the West Coast offense." I go, "BS." I go, I was in that West Coast offense.
Yeah.
They used to hand the ball to Tom Rathman or hand it to Roger Craig, and Joe Montana played underneath center, and they got pushed and all that. To your point, the 3rd and 1 play, they get 0 yards because Smith and Guyton miss their blocks.
Yep.
They don't handle they don't sort it out well enough. So they're going to get a negative play or a zero carry on the play because they don't get the blocks. So it's just it's mind numbing sometimes. Some of the things, like you said, I just want them just do some simple things, but the simple things are hard.
Yeah.
There's
Nothing feels easy,
no easy
yeah.
button, no easy button on this team. Yeah.
I will say this is actually at the beginning of the game, that first drive, those first 3 plays of the first drive, they were like bam, bam, bam. And I'm like, okay,
Playing with
is
tempo.
this?
Yeah.
I'm like, is this the game where they're going to find that
Yeah.
ability to
Yeah.
really be able to efficiently move the ball? And what happens? As soon as that happens, then you get into that point where they're right outside the red zone. They were right at the 21, and it's just like the brakes got hit, and they just started to sputter. And that's the thing. Like, even when you saw that immediate success, it's like they couldn't sustain it for more than 3 plays, and then it all went down.
Gain of 27, gain of 12, gain of 15,
Yeah.
and then Dowdle for 2, and then they run the screen that loses 4.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, and that's and it's a hard block. I mean, as a hard block for Martin to have to make because the linebacker Ellis is like he's playing man coverage.
Yeah.
He just kind of slow plays it,
And then
lets
comes
Martin get
screaming.
outside, and then boop, run inside of there.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I was so impressed with Caden Ellis yesterday. I saw him as a productive player going into the week, but oh my goodness, he was all over the place yesterday. Really talented player.
All right, we're going to take our first break. We'll come back. We'll talk more about this offense. Let's talk about Rico Dowdle and what he was able to do yesterday. I think that was an interesting storyline. Certainly thinking back to what we've talked about with what we thought the Cowboys should be doing with their running back position. We'll talk about that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Don't put off getting your oil changed, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. They're so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's stay in your car 10-minute oil change at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. That means you won't even have time to show off your best touchdown celebration. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the break.
Oof. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said the LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and this segment is brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, let's talk about Rico Dowdle. Yesterday, he was 12 carries for 75 yards, a 6.3 average. Really, he was the running back for them yesterday. Nobody else had more than 2 designed runs in that game, including Cook. That all being said, do you think that this is starting to be proof that if the Cowboys would just rely on one back, Rico Dowdle, he is their best running back, that maybe they can get, again, a decent running game? They don't have to have a great running game, but a decent running game, and it can be at least productive enough for them to get things going as they should be going.
Yeah, I agree. I think at this point, if they don't make a move before tomorrow to bring another guy into that room, I think you just start handing the ball to Rico Dowdle 12, 15, 18 times a game just to let him build confidence. I sensed you were in the Rico scrum yesterday in the locker room. I sensed a little frustration from him from how the season has kind of played out, and then this kind of being his moment of being like, see, I was telling you. Somebody had asked him, do you feel like whenever you get the carries throughout the course of a game that you were able to sustain momentum? He's like, that's what I've been trying to say. Like, I'm a guy that when I get my carries, I get better as the game goes on. I need that to get going. He was very honest about that. So it kind of just, I was looking around like, interesting. So I heard he's right. He's right.
Yeah, I heard the same thing, and it kind of raised my eyebrow too a little bit. Like, I wonder how much has he really, has he been saying that? Has he been feeling that?
He's said that before. I've heard him say that before, weeks and weeks ago. Yeah. And I mean, I just thought, I didn't think much of it because it's like, yeah, typically the more you do it, the more rhythm you can get. So I mean, this whole Zeke thing that happened, it makes you wonder what's going to happen here in the running back room after what happened this weekend.
Brian, what do you think of the whole Zeke thing?
You know, I think there's a lot to it. And I don't think it's just about meetings and missing meetings and things like that. I think there's a lot more to this. And, you know, I'm probably not my area to get into, but there's some things that other people will get into. And, they'll figure all this out. I know there's some legitimate concern for Zeke, in the organization about this whole situation and what he's dealing with and stuff right now. But like I said, it's something that probably needs to be taken care of here in the next few days if they can.
Yeah. It's not one thing. I think that's probably the biggest thing to take away from what you said there.
Yeah, it was kind of a shock that it all went down the way that it did. Him not obviously traveling with the team. Obviously, I don't think it would have been a surprise to anyone if he would have been inactive. Because I think the reality is we started to hear little things last week from Mike McCarthy about running back by committee. He said, I'm not really into that. I don't think that's the best way to go. Right. So we kind of could have, now in retrospect, you're like, well, he was intimating that they were going to stick with Rico in this game, and they felt like that was going to be the best option. So at that point, it doesn't surprise me if Zeke is inactive, because if you're going to do that, then Rico's your guy.
Yeah, I think there's, like I say, there's been reports, and and Nick done a fine job with his reporting as well. I just kind of feel like that this is something, like I said just a little bit earlier, it needs to be taken care of now. They need to either do what they need to do to move on or try and get the situation. I kind of feel like that I don't see this as being just, like you said, the one thing. This is just a culmination of a lot of things. But man, they need to make a decision on this. They really do.
I'll tell you what, I hate to see this. I really do. From the Zeke that we have gotten used to seeing since 2016, and to have this type of reunion and it be an opportunity for them to kind of be able to find each other, not only the Cowboys but Zeke, and then at the end of the day, it's just not worked. So it's sad to see at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's one of the tough things about bringing a guy back that you already kind of let go, because it does have the potential to then go really wrong, because it does kind of bring up if things don't go right, it can bring up a lot of old feelings, and that's when you really start getting into tough situations.
These players struggle too. You can hold their hand and watch over them here while they're at the Star. It's when they leave the Star that you got to be a little bit mindful of, like, hey, you don't always get to kind of, run their lives when they're off the field. And so, those are things that you have to deal with. I mean, I dealt with it as a personnel guy everywhere I've been. The off the field stuff can really, really hurt you with your players, and it can hurt you with your locker room.
Well, and we were talking about this right before the game. It's like, this is the kind of drama that happens when you're losing games and everybody's in a bad mood. People start pointing fingers. You're not happy at what this person's doing or that person's doing because you think you're right, and that
you think you could be better. You think you could be a part of the solution. You're not being used that way. There's a lot of that. Yeah.
Maybe if they give you more, give me the chance. Let me keep trying, and maybe then. So, and again, this is just in general. This is the kind of stuff that happens, and it sucks when things like that start occurring, and not everyone is on the same page. But this is where we're at.
Yeah, so much of the drama that the Cowboys have experienced this year is a result of that. It's the levels of frustration. What happened with Trayvon, like, that was just frustration. You lose, and you get on these losing streaks, and things aren't going well, and you're losing guys to injury. Like, people get frustrated, and sometimes that ends up being more dramatic than it would be if you're winning, when you just kind of like let things go. By the way, Trayvon's had moments when people have talked bad about him before. Yeah. When you're winning, and 12-5 on a season, you just kind of like, whatever. I don't care what that dude has to say. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's different when you're losing.
Brush off.
Yeah, when you're losing, it just creates a level of frustration.
Nobody wants to hear they're doing a poor job.
Yeah. Or the reason for the losing.
Or the reason for the losing. Yeah, and I mean, trust me, we all work in a business in the media where, I know with radio we have the texts and all that and the fans, and those folks can ruin your day. They really can, and nobody.
If you read it,
nobody. And I choose. There's certain comments I go and look at podcasts, and people will ruin your day. Yeah. They absolutely will. They have no feelings for you. They don't care about you. You make a comment, and it makes you wonder why. Why am I even commenting? Why am I even trying to? Yeah. Why am I trying to educate people? It's my job, but yeah, people can find a way to ruin your day. They really can.
Yep. All right, we're going to take our final break. We will come back, and we'll have to flip over to the other side of the field of the ball. We want to talk a little bit about this defense, and we certainly have to at some point get to what happened on special teams with their thought of maybe trying to convert on fourth down. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. You might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a Pepper thing.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T connecting changes everything.
Welcome back. It is the final segment of the break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Let's talk about the defense. Yesterday, they held Atlanta to 100 yards rushing. Bijan Robinson held to 19 carries for 86 yards, a 4.5 average. Although it sounds like a pretty good day with this rushing defense, I think it was a win. I would call it a win. What would you guys say about their play yesterday?
Yeah, you could say it's a win. The thing that's creeping in the back of my mind is the double-digit missed tackles. Like those 86 yards from Bijan Robinson could have easily be 46.
Now, let's also put that in context. That's Bijan's game.
It is 100%.
That is, now, if they hadn't had a missed tackle problem all season, I'd be like, that's all Bijan, because that's who Bijan Robinson is. But just wanted to put that in context.
For sure, 100%. You know? And they did a good job against Tyler Algier, which we were talking about it during the week. He's more the physical guy. He'll run down your throat. 6 carries, 18 yards, 3 yards a pop. So I think they did a good job in limiting Algier's physicality. But yeah, Bijan, he's going to get his. But whenever you have your arms around his legs or arms around his midsection, you got to bring him down. Because if you don't, he will make you pay. He will make you pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough ask. And, you caught a break with Drake London being knocked out of that game. But that quarterback, he's super efficient the way he plays. He's very comfortable moving guys around. They took advantage of your rookie out there, that left corner. I think it was 7 targets, 7 receptions. And, and you just worry sometimes about his confidence. He was a really, you had a chance. You had him backed up. And they flipped the ball to the outside, and he's 2 yards, from making a tackle right there, and now making them punt deep in their own territory. He said they extend the drive, get to run some more time off the clock, and punt the ball down the other end of your field. But he's really struggling with, and he hasn't played. I mean, he plays and then he's out. And then, he's got a shoulder problem. So how much is he willing to tackle? And I'm just talking about him. But you got some of the things that we talked about, they did. And that always makes me happy when we bring up the fact that they use McQuamu a little bit on Pitts. That's something we talked about. And,
Pitts didn't do much.
First, he had 1 catch.
That worked.
Yeah, and McQuamu, they shuffled around on him. And that's that on Pitts. That's good. Yeah. They brought Overshown 1 time on just a straight rush, and it was the first third down of the game, and they got off the field. And they didn't do anything after that since. And, it makes you wonder, you're just kind of like, damn, we told you to cover Pitts with a taller guy.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Bring this guy as a rusher.
Yeah.
They'll have problems blocking him. They did. Ball incomplete.
Well done.
And well done. Now you're off the field. And then you're like the rest of the game, you're like going, well, where is this? Where is that? And
I wonder if it was a product of Carl Lawson getting home a few times and then just
Carl
being like,
Lawson,
hey, we'll just stick with our unit.
Give Carl Lawson some credit.
Hey, man, Carl Lawson.
And by the way, Oso Diggy played a really good game for you.
And
last week you were expecting that against the 49ers. He played like he should have played against the 49ers. He played like against the Falcons.
Yeah.
He was very disruptive. He was a really good player for him. Overshown. Those guys did a nice job.
Yeah.
But you just didn't have enough of that.
I said that last week about Osa that, if there was, I think it was one of the games we were playing, we asked the question, what would you change right now that you don't think they will? And I was like, man, go hard at defensive tackle because I'm not happy with either one right now. I think I could get more out of Osa even.
Right.
And surely enough, yesterday he showed me exactly what I'm like. If you give me that every week, that's what I want. Because you put that with the pieces that you're missing right now in defense, now you're working with something. But that's also Osa. Like Osa has been throughout his career. He's had games like that. This is not new. He can play those kinds of games. I just want to see it as consistently as he showed yesterday. I want him to be able to put that together game after game after game because he's definitely got the talent.
And this is an important year for him being a contract year, so he needs to really stack these games. And I mean, if we're looking at a situation now, and if you're a fan out there and you're saying, hey, this team's not going to make the playoffs, what is there to keep watch at? Keep watch at these expiring contracts, because the better that these guys play down the stretch is the more likely that these guys will be back next season. Osa Odigizua, I think, is a perfect case of that. You look at him, expiring deal. Okay, if he can stack games like he had against Atlanta yesterday, maybe there's a situation where he's back as a 3-tech next season.
Or does it go the other way, though? Let me ask you that. Does it go the other way?
It's happened in his career where he plays. He's a very good college player. He plays 13 really good weeks, and then from week 14 through 17, there seems to be a little drop off in play. Maybe it's going the other way. I hope for his sake. He might be in a situation where he's thinking, like, every week that I don't perform, it's probably costing me money in my pocket. Not just with the Dallas Cowboys, but with the Indianapolis Colts, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the San Francisco 49ers, whoever else is looking for a defensive tackle, a 3 technique. If my tape is not good enough, it's hard for people to give you a whole lot of money.
Yeah, that's what I start wondering about, to your point, Nick, is if a person like him that has an expiring contract plays really, really well down the stretch, does it end up putting him out of the range of what the Cowboys are willing to pay? Because again, you already got a guy in Dak who's making a ton of money, and then CD, and you're thinking you got to get Micah done at some point, and Trayvon's already been paid. Like, it's only so much money. Like they talk about it all the time. You only got so much in the pie. If he starts getting to that point where he's starting to get really good and teams are looking at him like on this second contract, he's one of the best defensive tackles, 3 techniques out there, the number might push up higher than what you can go.
Happened to Dorrance Armstrong, I believe. I think Dorrance Armstrong got out of the ability for them to pay him so. Yeah.
And if that happens, then good for him. I mean,
absolutely.
He puts in the work,
him,
and you want to wish all of them well at the end of the day and in their career, and get the most money they can, especially at such position that you don't always get paid the highest in that regard. But overall, I think it's, to me, looking at this game, and there are many, many different kinds of frustration, but to know that the final score, and the score looks so much nicer than what the actual game was and looked like, but you and it's happened throughout the season. You've had games in your hands. Yes, the defense has not played well, but they've done just enough, especially taking into consideration the amount of injury that they've sustained this season. But yet, it just all comes back to the offense not doing enough for you. Imagine with all these close games, had the offense scored just one more time, 2 more times, how we would be sitting here in a completely different scenario. Had you had Dak running the ball a lot earlier in the season, we would potentially be here in a total different scenario. Same with the running back situation. I feel like you should have figured that out a long time ago, and not here trying to play like, okay, who are we gonna plug in, or having all these. So it's just weird, because sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy in the sense of, like, man, I feel like all of us see these things weeks ago. And then it's just like they're running behind like a few weeks behind of us of what we're seeing, as far as like when they decide to start making some of these changes or trying some of these things. So it's so annoying. It's so annoying, because I truly feel like there are a lot of talented players on this team. We've seen them play at a very high level, and to think that you've wasted all these opportunities where you could be standing at a very, very different position right now, and you're just not. So it's just, I don't know. Well, it sucks.
Depending on if they make a coaching change, and we'll see if they do, but they need to revamp the whole entire defensive tackle room, in my opinion. That needs to, whatever, if a new coach comes in and maybe it's a defensive coach, or he brings in an offensive coach, brings in a defensive coordinator that has an idea. This tackle room needs to be, if Osa goes and Mozzie Smith goes and Linval Joseph goes and all that to me, I have no problem with that. but they're going to have to redo that whole room, in my opinion.
And my my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but money-wise, we're worse off right now for this upcoming free agency than we were last year, right?
Dak and CD gives you a lot of flexibility in that sense. We'll kind of see how everything shakes out, though. I think there's going to be more opportunity. But it's too early, really.
I think there's a lot of money that's on the books that you can't get rid of because of that was already money that's going to catch up to them.
They've got things kind of earmarked.
So it's
every time
gonna,
you think
it's going to be tough.
Every time you think they have $100 million in cap space, it's all spent.
Yeah,
that's kind of how and even when I worked in the organization, I'm like, wait a minute, we got this amount of money. It's like, no, that money's already spent, and I'm like, oh, okay, so. Yeah,
and that's that cycle where you kind of keep being forced to rely on the draft and develop those talent. And again, we know the history that they have in drafting players. They've been really, really good at it. But with that comes time and developing and all of that. So it's going to be a wild one this offseason.
All right, real quick before we end the show, I do want to get your opinions on that play. The Cowboys decide on 4th down. They're going to try to run a fake punt. What were your thoughts on just the decision and then the decision to do that versus keeping Dak and the offense on the field if you're going to go forward and try to convert it that way?
It was a very clear fake punt situation, I think, first off. So I don't think you were necessarily catching anybody off guard because it was middle of the field, 4th and short. I don't understand going one-on-one with C.J. Goodwin and throwing up the ball to C.J. Goodwin one-on-one. I don't understand that personally. If you had a Jalen Brooks out there, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But
you had Flanoy on the other side, right?
Flanoy is 6'3".
Flanoy on the other side.
Flanoy is 6'3".
Flanoy is probably the better option.
No doubt. Yeah, you had absolutely no shot at that.
And then also on 4th down fake punt situations, pass interference is not a thing. So he can just mug him and it be completely legal. So I don't understand throwing it up one-on-one in that situation. I think I would try to get the personal protector, who was Wanye Thomas, and then it was Marquise Bell after Thomas came out, get him out in the flat or something like that instead. There
was no doubt he was just going to catch the ball and throw it no matter what.
Yeah,
that thing almost ended up being a pick six.
Yeah,
it did.
I mean, it really
should have been probably.
So. Yeah, it's and you mentioned Flanoy. He's the gunner on the other side of the field. He's 6'3". He's a wide receiver. He's used to running routes. He's used to kind of pushing off and going up and getting the ball vertically like that, playing maybe high pointing the ball. To me, that's kind of a mismanagement. If you're going to do stuff like that, give yourself the best chance. Taller receiver against a smaller corner. That's what they had on the outside there, but they went corner against corner, and it was too easy of a play for them to have to make.
And it's 3 yards. Why not just drag? You know?
Makes
it harder than it needs to be.
Be careful what you ask for. We've been asking for creativity. And I mean, give them credit. It was kind of quote unquote different.
Should we ask for success?
Right.
We need success.
Creative success.
Be more intentional with your wording. Be more intentional with those adjectives that you use when asking for what you want.
I just want success. I don't.
There you go.
I don't care if it's creative or not. Just give me success.
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was a tough one. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Brian's going to have a little game for us. We're going. That's funny. Go inside the brain of Bryan Broaddus, and we'll move on. We'll move this thing along into the next
on to
week.
Philadelphia.
Cowboys will play the Eagles next weekend at AT&T Stadium. So till tomorrow, for Nick Harris, Bryan Broaddus, and Ambar Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!